Welcome to SEMcast at Concordia Seminary in St. Louis. I'm Dale Meyer. This year, when you visit Concordia Seminary, and we certainly hope you'll come and visit, you'll notice many changes and improvements. And I'm excited about these changes, along with the faculty and students. The campus here at St. Louis is truly beautiful, and it keeps getting better. I'd like you to join me today on a virtual tour. Our tour guide is Stephen Mudd, the seminary's Director of Facilities. Stephen, you played a big part in these changes. Would you tell us what your responsibility here is at Concordia?
Sure, I'd be happy to. The classic definition for a Director of Facilities is someone who manages the physical asset. And so what that means is what you would expect, like somebody who manages a mutual fund or some other type of asset. The role here at Concordia Seminary goes quite a bit deeper than that because we have a historic campus. The role that I play here is to help preserve the campus, but yet build it up for the use that it needs to see today.
Let me plug in this information. The campus is over 80 years old.
Absolutely.
And I gave a tour to the chancellor of an area university, and he was just amazed by the beauty of these buildings. And his campus is no small thing either. You're the Director of Facilities then. How'd you get the job? Did you fall off the wagon and come here, or what's your training?
Well,
that's what I'm asking. What's your training?
It's quite a journey. I started with a regular education in architectural engineering.
You're an architect.
Yes, I am. I was licensed. Worked in the field through an internship. Was licensed. That was in the early '80s. Then I felt that I wanted to get closer to construction. I worked as a construction manager for a number of years. After that, I worked in the design-build industry, architecture and construction. And then after coming out of that industry, actually due to an economic reversal, I worked as an engineering manager for a manufacturing company that handled hazardous materials. It gave me a great background for being at the seminary. And actually it did. All of these things worked together. And as my family got older, I wanted to cut down on the travel, and I made the shift into facilities. With a broad background in a lot of different areas. I trained for that, got certified, and began as a facility manager for the St. Louis County Library System. And then I came here.
Well, we're glad you're here. The reason I asked Steve about his background is because I want you to know that we want the best people to do all the various jobs we have on the campus. And with your background in architecture, construction, facilities management, you're the first person with these credentials in the almost 170 years of the seminary to be in our employ. So you've been a great blessing. And I'll tell you, that's something that we ministers don't know a whole lot about, but every day you surprise us with your knowledge of buildings. This guy says, I love buildings. He loves buildings.
I do. I'm the building guy. I love buildings.
Okay, let's take a tour to the building that's been the center of attention recently on campus, our new student commons in the Wartburg Hall. We dedicated the commons in the Wartburg Hall at the beginning of this present school year. Tell us, Steve, about the upgrades to that over 80-year-old hall.
That's a great example of building and preserving. You start with just a tremendous piece of architecture, Day and Clowder, 1926, and then add into that a restoration of the wood finishes and those, all of the elements that make it what it is, cleaning it and all of preserving it, and then bring it up to date with audio, large screen TV, furnishings that are comfortable and conducive to small group meetings and eating and all the various functions that go on in there. Add in stand-up computers hooked up to our internet, an audio system that can make it useful for meetings and small group meetings and the whole hall can be used as a meeting space. Now you have a true community space for the campus.
Yeah, one of the things about the Commons in Wartburg Hall that delights me, and nobody else would pay any attention to it except maybe you, is the emergency exit.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, that's another part of bringing buildings up to date that you absolutely need to do. We had a hall without a secondary means of egress, out of code compliance for something like 50 years. So we added a secondary exit there in case of fire. But also we brought it up to date with a sprinkler system. We enhanced the fire protection system. We brought in an additional primary electric system for the building. So as we did that renovation, about half of the cost went into improvements that were just sorely needed for a building that was way behind in terms of modernization.
Using that emergency exit as an example, how well did our forefathers build these buildings?
Oh, well, they built them very well. I guess the wall that we went through there was, well, we had little debates about how thick that was, 27 inches to 30 inches. Actually, I think we found out that it was 30 inches at the end. Of stonework, yes.
30-inch
of
walls
stonework,
that our forefathers built.
Of stonework, yes.
Yeah.
You know, actually, and the truss work that was up there allowed us to actually suspend the mechanical system, get it out of our way, without having to do any additional work.
Another, you mentioned the truss work, the highlighting on that. Tell us about the highlighting on the trusses, which I just think is, it gets a little thing, but it excites me.
It's a little thing. The trusses were originally highlighted with a wash that was a light gold color. It wasn't gold leaf or anything like that. It was just a wash. It was very subtle, and this would be the edges of the trusses. And so when actually during the course of the work in cleaning the trusses, because they hadn't been cleaned, there was just an accumulation of dust on the top of them. So during the course of the work in cleaning everything down, we actually discovered this, and we restored it so that it would and what an elegant addition it made. Many people comment about it.
The ambience that was intended by Day and Clotter, the original architects, has not been changed. Now you know, we get excited by these little men things, but you mentioned a word before that's really critical: community. Would you talk about the function of the Commons in Wartburg Hall in terms of the campus community?
Well, one of the observations of what we were doing before with the campus community was we had a snack bar and we had a dining hall primarily for dormitory students. We have three orbs of students who come here. We have our dormitory students who live here. We have our commuter students who come in and go out. And we also have our married student population.
If I may interject and add to that, I'm not correcting what you said, but adding to that, we have distance learning.
That's correct, students who come boom, in and out.
And we have our women's students, our deaconess students, and our graduate women's students. When I went to seminary, now I'm coming up on my 35th anniversary of graduation, we were just largely a bunch of single guys who had already been together for 2 years, in some cases 8 years. Community was already built.
Right.
So you're saying we have to build community.
Right. And one of the ways you build community in the places that you eat, the places that you gather, and we had separately distinct little areas around the campus, and this gives one place where people can come and have a variety of events that builds community for the campus. So we have people in there all day long.
What are the hours of the Commons?
We open up at 7 in the morning. Commuter students come in, get coffee, a donut, sit and study before their classes. I suspect with Highway 40 closing that we'll get them in earlier. We might have to adjust our hours. And we go until 10 o'clock at night, giving the opportunity for married students to come with their families, watch a DVD on the big screen, have organized movie nights, those types of things.
And when there's a sports game,
A sports
big
game.
screen, everybody gathers around to watch the big game.
Yep, married, dormitory, commuter, you name it. If Mizzou was in one of those major bowls, they'll be there. I'm sure they'll be there for the Mizzou game.
Well, you know, Steve Mudd, Director of Facilities here at Concordia Seminary, a.k.a. Steve the Sledgehammer Guy. And it wasn't only the emergency door that you put in. You took a sledgehammer to something else in Wartburg Hall to knock another wall out. What did you tell us about what Steve the Sledgehammer Guy did there?
Sledgehammer Guy, oh my gosh. You know, I haven't told you this story. That was really Providence. We opened up between Wartburg Hall and Steckard Hall.
Two adjacent halls.
Two adjacent buildings.
At a 90-degree angle, yeah.
At a 90-degree angle. And we, this is something that, you know, and this is not preserving the way that it always was, but in struggling with the issue of getting all the functions into Wartburg that we wanted to get there, and concerned about how that would fit and whether we could get everybody in and whether we could get the seating to work one Saturday morning, working with some layouts, working with the original plans, I just happened to note that the draftsman, for whatever reason, and again, I'd say this is Providence, placed the Wartburg-Coburg complex on the same sheet as the Steckard Hall.
Sheet?
The same sheet of the drawing. And I have this spread out on my desk, and I'm looking at it.
You're talking to minister. Sheet, that's in my bed.
Okay, so the drawing is spread out on my desk, and I'm looking at it, and I just happen to know, and it's all drawn on the same sheet. And I'm looking at it, and suddenly, just because of the way it's drawn, I'm looking at it, and I say, I'm wondering if those are the same floor level. And I ran outside, I looked at it, I was running around measuring windows, measuring floor levels, and in a very excited way, I said, this is within about an inch of one another, and we have an opportunity here that we could take advantage of to not only provide us with the space that we need to make the Wartburg Commons work, but to potentially bring another key function in there that can contribute to the community. And that's actually the way it worked out, because the faculty lounge, you know, Dr. Veltz jumped, you know, right on that idea of bringing the faculty lounge down into that spot.
So now we're looking at the faculty lounge now. Describe this to us. And again, not only physically, but describe its community function.
Well, as part of the community, it just gets the faculty right where the students and the community that's going on with the seminary is all the time, and it's all on the same level. It gives accessibility to the faculty lounge to people in wheelchairs or people with difficulty with stairs that they didn't have before. Our emeriti professors can now get to the faculty lounge without going up and down stairs. Our students can, you know, get to the area around the faculty lounge. The faculty lounge is in an area where they go and they can pick up a meal and bring it back to the faculty lounge, or they sit with the students. I find the faculty's been great about this. I mean, you just see the faculty in Wartburg all the time where the students are, and you know, a good piece of that is because the faculty lounge is so convenient.
And the dean of the faculty, Dr. Jim Veltz, has provided newspapers, magazines. It's a place for the faculty to get together and talk and debate, argue, vision. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place. Now, those are the big things,
Yeah.
The little things that are just as important on the campus. Tell us about some of the little things that you've done and are tending to still today.
Well, let me tell you about a little thing that I've never mentioned to you before, but this happened when I very first came, in October when I first came. I noticed, you know, the bicycles that were under Lober Hall were set in such a way that you had to walk single file into Lober Hall. So a little thing that we did was to move the bicycles out from where they were under the overhang so that you could walk side by side and open up that circulation path. We've done several other little things with the sidewalks and seating areas and benches and things like that, just so that...
we can take a look at this. The sidewalks, which hadn't been kept up for years, we have new sidewalks.
That's right.
The benches, what's that?
Well, we've added benches and table areas to off of the Chapel Plaza. off of the area around the fountain.
For what reason?
Well, so that people can come, sit down, talk. I've seen classes out there.
Community.
All of those kinds of things. Every sidewalk we put in is going to be wide enough for two people to walk side by side. We had a ton of sidewalks on this campus that everybody had to walk like Indian style. And as we make improvements, we're going to change that.
And we're going to keep on making improvements. To kind of wrap our SEMcast up, one of the major improvements, going from sidewalks and benches to back to the major improvements, is where we are right now. Tell us about where we are right now and what you have done in the first level of Seek Hall.
Oh, where we are right here, the TV studio. Well, we took a team, a group, educational technology group, and we moved them from where they were to this area. They were in kind of a rabbit's warren of offices and things like that, and now they have a community area where they have desks side by side. They can meet, they can talk, they can get their work done. They have a true studio space. It's
a studio that more and more people in the church are taking advantage of it. You know, we take care of the seminary's needs, distance learning needs, things like SEMcast, but also our people are helping to service needs of the church through this wonderful studio. I just love it.
It is a great place.
You know, I'm a frustrated, carpenter, contractor or something. You know that. And so I always enjoy our
Heavy
time
equipment
together.
operator, I
Heavy
thought.
equipment operator. We don't have the time to tell you about Dale Meyer running the Bobcat, but I'll tell you. Yeah. So anyway, the director of campus facilities, Mr. Stephen Mudd, we thank you for your expertise and for the great things you're doing for the campus. And I want to thank Stephen for being here, and I want to thank you for joining us on this SEMcast and learning about the physical improvements that are being made to this venerable old campus, Concordia Seminary in St. Louis. You can find on our website many resources for your own edification and also for congregational life. So please visit www.csl.edu. And as I said at the outset of today's SEMcast, you're certainly welcome to come and visit the campus in person. We have several thousand visitors every year, and we're glad to welcome you and show you around. So thank you, Stephen Mudd. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you on our next SEMcast.